Modern motorsport is a game of precision, safety, and strict regulations, but there was a time when the only rule was speed. Welcome to the 1980s. Welcome to Group B. It was an era where engineers were allowed to build anything and drivers were brave enough to drive everything. Imagine machines with more power than Formula One cars, flying through narrow forest tracks, inches away from thousands of spectators. This wasn't just racing. It was a beautiful, terrifying mechanical madness that the world will never see again. This is the rise and fall of the most dangerous era in rally history. Before 1980, the rule of rallying was simple. Race cars had to be rear-wheel drive. Rear-wheel drive was light, agile, and predictable. When Audi announced they were bringing a heavy, complex four-wheel drive system called Quattro to the dirt tracks, rival teams laughed. They thought it was a joke. Too heavy, too clumsy. But then the snow fell at the Monte Carlo rally, and nobody was laughing anymore. The Audi Quattro didn't just drive on the ice, it clawed into it. It gripped the earth in a way that defied physics. Overnight, every other car on the grid became completely obsolete. This wasn't just an evolution, it was a mechanical revolution. But Audi had just opened Pandora's box. To beat the Quattro, rival engineers realized they had to break every rule of traditional car design. Audi proved that four-wheel drive was the future, but they had a flaw. Their engine was at the front, making the car nose-heavy. To beat them, Peugeot built the 205 T16, stripping a family hatchback and shoving the engine right in the middle for perfect balance. It was brilliant. But Lancia went completely insane. They created the Delta S4. To eliminate turbo lag, Lancia engineers did the unthinkable. They strapped a supercharger and a massive turbocharger onto the same engine. The supercharger provided brutal low-end torque, and as the revs climbed, the turbo took over, creating an endless wave of explosive power. Horsepower numbers skyrocketed from a reasonable 250 to a terrifying 600. These weren't cars anymore. They were space-frame chassis wrapped in thin Kevlar and plastic, accelerating faster than Formula One cars on gravel. The cars had evolved, but human reflexes hadn't. These 600 horsepower monsters were now too fast for the brain to process. Legendary drivers like Walter Röhrl and Mickey Beatian were pushing the absolute boundaries of human psychology. Röhrl described it as trying to steer a missile. They were experiencing tunnel vision, their minds struggling to keep up with the blurry trees flashing by. But the real nightmare wasn't just the speed, it was the spectators. Thousands of fans, desperate for the ultimate thrill, stood completely unprotected on the track. They would form a human wall, parting like the Red Sea only a split second before the cars arrived. Drivers weren't just racing against the clock anymore. They were racing blind, praying the crowd would step back in time. It was a ticking time bomb. The ticking time bomb finally exploded in 1986. During the Tour de Corse, the unimaginable happened. The brilliant driver Henri Toivonen and his co-driver Sergio Cresto lost their lives when their 600 horsepower Lancia plunged off a mountain road. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the world. Within hours, the governing body made a swift and absolute decision. Group B was banned forever. The monsters were locked away. Today, modern motorsport is safer, highly regulated, and technically perfect. But for those who witnessed it, nothing will ever compare to the raw, untamed violence of the Group B era. It was a brief, blazing moment where engineering ambition eclipsed human fear. The golden age of rally that burned too bright.